Welcome back to the VHS Club. We're back after our week off. Well, week off for sort of a week off. I was in Orlando at a podcasting event, so it feels like I've been doing a lot of podcasting, but not this particular show. How's it going, Nat?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm proud to say that I watched this movie on the flight home, so I felt very ahead of myself. I got home Sunday and I was like, I need to watch the movie for this. I'm like, oh no, I've already seen the movie for this week. It was very exciting. Although then it meant that I'm not as refreshed as I normally am, having watched it like right immediately. But that's all right.
To the countdown.
Yeah, right up until the countdown. No, it was it was a good week. And this week we're talking about Night Shift, which is an early 80s movie. This is the end of our Michael Keaton run, I assume.
I didn't realize Michael Keaton was in it, so I was very surprised. I'm like, oh, Michael Keaton is playing a total hyper-ass douche in this again. I'm like, that's fun.
Were you not paying attention to the end where we're like, one more Michael Keaton? You're like, no, you were just,
Well, I mean, I was. I don't remember things. My short-term memory doesn't work.
Yeah.
Cute,
so
guys
this is the end of Michael Keaton, but I
realized he has like a typecast though. Like he always plays this like super hyper ADHD,
super high energy, like super
kind of douchey.
Yeah,
like or at least he's played it in the 80s. I wouldn't say now, and I mean like excluding Batman, obviously. Like I feel like that was a huge departure.
Yeah,
from like every other movie, because even Beetlejuice, he's the same kind of guy.
Yeah,
it was like pretty funny.
Yeah, a little bit strange, kind of like wacky. I think wacky is the best. Like, yeah. I knew absolutely nothing about this movie, so shout out to Kathy who was like, y'all need to watch Night Shift, and we're like, okay.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it. Like the movie poster's familiar, like the VHS box cover is familiar. But I hadn't seen it. So it was fun. It was fun to watch. I was excited to watch a movie that I like literally knew nothing about.
Yeah. So Kathy will have to forgive us because we'll just say at the very top that we weren't giant fans of this one. But that's okay. No, everyone has different perspectives on movies, so we'll try not to be too harsh.
In all fairness, it has been discussed on the podcast before. We all know that Natalie's least favorite comedy trope is when the hardworking good guy just gets shat on, and that's the movie.
Yeah, you and Dane would not be able to have a podcast together because you have the same feelings about that. Whereas I don't. I was the second that I finished watching it, and I was ahead of you because again I watched it on the flight home, and I was like, yes,
immediately Katie texted me, and she's like, I have feels. We need to talk about this now. Like,
have you seen this? Have you seen this?
We're going to discuss those feels now. Quick premise. The premise of the movie is I'm like a nice guy. I'm like, was he though? Okay, no, but so he's like the quote unquote like the good guy,
not even the good guy, the hardworking guy who just wants to do his like, and in this case it's not a 9-to-5 job, but like he just wants to put in his time and go home and be left alone. Like he just wants a simple life.
But it starts off, it's like he's been working, so he's works in the morgue. He's a mortician. He is working very hard. He's been working for 6 years. His boss says he wants to meet him. He thinks he's getting promoted. He's getting demoted because the boss is sticking in his nephew to work the day shift. And Chuck is going back to the night shift.
Yep.
And when he goes back to the night shift, without being told, he has this quirky new
Crazy
assistant,
sidekick
Bill.
partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in just basically a lot of hijinks ensue. So like a lot of Bill he has all these great ideas. He's an idea guy.
Yeah.
Of course, most of them are completely stupid, but that's, the funny part, right? So he's always like, I have this great idea. And Chuck is just basically trying to like float, like keeps head above water. He's engaged to Charlotte, who's a rather neurotic.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Well, yeah, she's definitely has OCD and ED, but eating disorder and anyways. So, but she, like they're engaged, they're stressed. She wants to look good for the wedding. He thinks she looks fine the way she is. So the relationship is a little tense, leading up to their wedding, and now he got switched to night shift. So she's like, "I'll never see you again." And in comes Bill, who's crazy and quirky, and they bump into this woman who is there to identify her dead pimp, which is super fun, played by Shelley Long. Love her. Cheers days, and she's very adorable. And she's also his new neighbor at home, so he keeps sort of crossing paths with her. And then Bill has this great idea, like, well, they don't, like, these hookers don't have a pimp anymore. It's getting dangerous out there for them. We can run this out of the morgue. And that's basically the movie. They get chased down by the other pimps and I guess the crime organization that's running the girls in that neighborhood. They're not in a great neighborhood somewhere in New York City. And also the police are trying to catch them. And then basically at the end of it, they do get arrested, but completely get away with it. Because it's an election season and it's just too much trouble to have that. Like, wow, this is pretty realistic. And interestingly enough, it is allegedly based on a true story.
So Kathy, shout out to Kathy, who's hanging out with us in the live studio audience. This was one of her movies suggestions, and one of the things that she just dropped into the comments that's worth noting is that all of Bill, who is played by Michael Keaton, all of his like genius ideas, or like what they phrase as like crazy, totally off the cuff ideas that would never happen, kooky ideas, are actually things that now exist. Like they're like
a lot of them.
I think almost all of them are now like normal things that we have now in 2023 or 2024 now that we did not have back in early 1980s.
1982.
Yeah, and Kathy also points out. So the one thing that I did like about this, so there were a few things that I actually really did like about this movie. I really liked the overall premise of it. So sort of unlike you, I actually, for whatever reason, and Dane and you both hate this
most
about
people
me,
do. But most people think the guy who's just doing his thing, like doing what everybody asks of him, like the guy who's just doing it, who gets like kerfuffled and gets like the fuzzy end of the lollipop. People love that. But everybody thinks it's hilarious.
This one was different. And I really want to I actually really want to shout out the Fonz. This was a very different role for him. I don't think I've ever seen him in a role like this. Like he's in like Arrested Development and some of like the sort of like
I was
newer...
just thinking, I'm like, it's similar to his Arrested Development character.
But in this movie, he's different than there's a bit of a different edge than what you just said. So his character is introduced as this like he's hardworking, but he's kind of miserable with his life. Like he's stuck. He's in this place where he really should have been an accountant, but for whatever reason he didn't do that. Lord knows how he ended up being working in a morgue instead of being an accountant, but whatever. So he's in so everyone's kind of disappointed in him. He's with a woman who he clearly doesn't actually have feelings for. He's just doing it because it's the right thing to do. And he's being forced by everyone to do all these different things. And he's sort of just bumbling his way through things. And so it is kind of an interesting... It's I don't know. It's an interesting portrayal to have this character who it's not like Christmas Vacation or some of these other movies we talked about where it's it's a guy who's supposed to be this awesome guy. He's doing his best and all these things slam into him. This is a guy that's not doing his best. He's already kind of failing. He's sort of stuck. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not willing to stand up for himself. He's kind of miserable. And so I do think that and actually I think more Shelley Long's character than Michael Keaton's character, but I think Shelley Long's character is a wonderful foil to that, where she's just so like laid back and laissez-faire and like and bubbly and fun, and kind of starts breaking him out of that world. Where I don't love it is my kind of like modern day view back here, where it's like I don't.
Yeah, I mean, he's a red flag. He's a
bit of a red flag. Yeah, I mean, and you see it coming. Like you know that like from the get, like he's clearly gonna fall in love with her. He's clearly gonna have
cheat on his wife or his fiance.
He's clearly
gonna he's gonna. But I mean, in a sense, that is kind of the joke. It takes him the whole movie to realize, like, it's not everybody else's fault that I'm in this situation, right?
Yeah.
He does finally realize at the end, like, oh no, it is actually all my fault that I let all of this happen. But I am finding myself and I am having more fun. And then let's,
well, and I guess what's kind of like sad about this movie, or maybe like how I would do this movie differently today, is that what's kind of cool about Shelley Long's character is that she seems to be completely comfortable with who she is. At no point is she like upset that she's a sex worker. Like she's fine. She's fine. She's got this like good network of friends. The only thing that she's trying to solve is that she doesn't want a pimp stealing her money.
That's gonna beat her up. Yeah.
And she wants some level of protection. So she knows she can't just be by herself. She wants to protect the other women that are working like in the same group.
She's awesome.
Her.
She creates a healthy work environment. Yeah. She makes her coin. And the second the guy that she is, I guess, dating, who happens to be engaged to somebody else, but other than that, but like the guy that she's interested, the second he tries to put her down for her job, she's like, fuck
bye
you.
Yeah,
and walks off. Like, I'm like, Shelley Long is amazing in this. Like, she's exactly what women today aspire to be, but she's always been that. Like,
so I do. I like loved her story and her character. Yeah. And I actually didn't mind, and Kathy is saying, like, I didn't mind Winkler's, like, hero's arc in trying to, like, find his voice and stand up for himself and, like, figure out what he wants. I actually didn't mind that either. The only thing that I didn't love is that, like you said, I think, like, he's kind of an ass, and it takes him a really long time to figure out, like, exactly what he wants. And even when he figures out what he wants, it's still in this, like, macho kind of like
how to get it.
It's still in this kind of like I'll save her from this world kind of mentality, and I feel like she doesn't really need saving.
She doesn't need any saving, and that's what took him the hard time to realize. Like, I love he's like, well, we slept together, and even though I'm engaged, and like, you're quitting your job, right? And she's like, no. And he doesn't get it at first, but then he does understand, like, oh, you wanted me to be all in on you and to accept you for who you are, and he does.
Well, would have been also kind of cool, again, like in my I'm rewriting this movie, like we should redo all of you tater tots, we should redo this movie, because this movie has a lot of potential, I think.
I do love a good, like, so one of the first things I wrote in my notes, it's like a classic late night comedy or raunchy comedy or whatever
we don't do those anymore, but like, what if,
well, we still have them, they're just not popular anymore,
as good, I guess, as they used to be, but
But it's very, like, classic that, and I do love that. I just find it's not, like, this one in particular wasn't done as well as others that I've enjoyed, but it's not unenjoyable. You know what I mean? Like, it does have great lines.
It has, Kathy is absolutely right. Kathy's saying that there's, like, so many quotable quotes in this movie, and that's absolutely true. I guess I wanted her, sure. I had my, like, again, my, like, in the 20s like goggles on the entire movie, where I was like, oh, he's this like amazing accountant, and like throughout the movie he's like helping, set up like, like equivalent of like IRA, like retirement savings accounts for the, for all of the women, and like helping. I was like, oh, like he's gonna realize awesome. like when he clearly is gonna have this moment where he insults her, like that was 100% gonna happen and needed to happen. But I assumed that like his comeback would be to say, like, I put all of like my money, or the money, like the money that you earned, into savings for you, so you can do whatever you want with it. Like, you can own your own business, and he had like the potential to be like I'll be your accountant. Like, then I get to do what I'm good at, and you can run your own business. It's I think it had some good
I
potential
do
to
like
it.
some of the like reoccurring like jokes that they've had. Like every time he gets home, the dog chases him through
The
the
dog
apartment
chases him.
complex,
Yeah.
which I'm like, nobody in the whole apartment building in New York City. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, of course nobody called the pound or the police because it's New York City. It's always noisy.
In
Like,
the 80s, like it
yeah,
was New
I'm
York City
like,
in the 80s.
nobody would give
Yeah.
a shit, right? Like a downtown apartment in Montreal, and like, people would just be like, whatever, like the dog again. Ugh.
Yeah.
They would just totally ignore it. Which one scene I found really funny. He has his like first night off in a long time. His fiance comes over. They're going to make love, and um she's being really like hard on herself because she had like a Twinkie earlier that day. She's like, I'm fat, and she's like, turn all the lights off, and he's like, okay, whatever, please get in bed.
Yeah.
And then the upstairs neighbor starts blasting country music, which is how he re-meets Belinda, and they realize that they have like a close they live
down
in
the
the same
hall. Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Like loud music in an apartment building in a big city is gonna, I mean, yes, it would bother you, but like, are you really gonna like make him go up there and ask them to turn it off? No.
Yeah, because she's difficult.
Yeah.
Like she's
Yeah.
their whole
Katie
character
and I,
is supposed to be
we,
unlikable and difficult.
she is, yeah. Katie and I, our second apartment together, we had these upstairs neighbors that were in a really good band, but they would come home, they're in a reggae band, and they used to travel and stuff. I forget what they were called, but they would come home whenever they were performing in Montreal at like 3, 4 in the morning, and then just like every weeknight
Yeah.
having a massive rager. It was like to the point where we had to start calling the police, and I'm like, because I'm like, I have to be up at 5 a.m. to go to work and go to school, and these people are having a rager, and I'm like, oh my god. And then the police were like, we're just not coming, like just deal with it. And like, so it's very, I was like, it's super realistic that nobody would actually do anything about the loud music. So I thought it was funny because I'm like, triggered.
Oh. Kathy asks a really great question. Yeah. So, and I'm eager to hear what the Tater Tots think too. But what do we think happens next at the end of the movie? So after she leaves the club with Chuck and Bill, does she quit? Does she stay? So in my mind, she starts her own business with all of the money that he's invested, for her and with her. Yeah, she's
the pimp, and he's the kept boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think because he realizes at the end of the movie that Shelley is the one that's worth the most in this like dynamic, I do love how he's so mad at Bill, and then at the last scene in the movie, he like Bill is completely forgiven. So they're at a brothel of some kind, just a brothel, and this guy is hitting on Shelley, but she's leaving work, and Chuck, I'm like Winkler, Chuck goes to save her, and he gets punched in the face, like he gets sucker punched, and the guy's walking off. Like, so after the assailant is walking off, Bill jumps off like second story balcony and lands flat,
and
like
misses
starfish.
Just just lands like flat.
He missed the whole scenario. He missed the whole, like, he missed the fight. He didn't do anything, but it was like the gesture. It was the thought that counts, and it's like all forgiven. I'm like, he would also have broken so many bones. Like,
it's funny because it's very like his character is like obnoxious, but also I feel like I could think of probably 5 different people that I know in real life who were not that far off from him, like in like college and even like early adulthood. So he's like, I mean, there's something about, and again, this goes into like the idea of working a night shift where it's like where you're working like all night. No one really is checking in on you
like
or
in
cares.
His 20s.
Yeah.
Let's remember this is a 20-year-old kid. Like, they're like, he's young in this, so it's,
and they're making like no money. Like so I kind of love his schemes where he's using the hearse to like take to like as a limo, basically as like a limo to drive people around and making extra money. Like he tries a lot of things before he, finally convinces Chuck to allow him to be love brokers, quote unquote. But I don't know.
Full-on brothel at the morgue.
Yeah. Do you know what I absolutely love? So I was looking through some facts of this movie. There's actually a lot of them, and they are wildly fascinating. But one of my favorites is that Drew Barrymore's mother plays one of the sex workers in this movie. She's like in the group of women, and now I need to like, I'll have to go back and look up as to who she is. And then one of my other
Shannon Doherty is also
Shannon
in this
Doherty
movie.
is in it, and Kevin Costner is in it as well.
Yeah, he's a frat guy.
He's a frat guy, and I went back and watched
so many people
clip.
at the frat party. Well, there's so many people at the frat party. It's hard to pick out who he is.
Yeah, and you need to go back and like. So I watched like the clip that they say he's in, and I like paused it and zoomed in. It was very like CSI, y'all, but it does not at all look like him. Like they're like, there he is in the middle, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. But
also,
I don't think that's
what did
him.
he look like in 1982? I don't think I know what Kevin Costner looked like in 1982.
Nothing like he looks like now. I literally paused and like.
Well, I know what he looks like now, and I know what he looked like in like peak hotness in the early 90s. I have no idea what he looked like a decade before I knew who he was, you know, like I'm assuming he was pretty young, so
Kathy said it was his first extra role in this movie, so it's kind of cool. And it's cool. This was Ron Howard's debut film, I believe, as well, which is one of the facts we played at the beginning. And as Paul says, like, I mean, I think probably most, if not all of us, at some point or another, have worked like an overnight shift or have been involved in it. There is like there is something like realistic and likable about that. Like, so Paul says he was a night auditor at a hotel. I worked at Blockbuster, which I mentioned, but we definitely had overnight shifts and often worked like really late, and there was always the weirdest possible situations that come out in the middle of the night where you're like, really? That's gonna happen right
living dead.
Oh man.
You remember that time at Blockbuster? So I was meeting up with Katie and one of her coworkers, Aiden or Paps, I can't remember who. Yeah. But we were going to go to Cheers, literally to the bar Cheers, and in Montreal, not in Boston. And it was a franchise at one point. Yeah, we weren't driving down to Boston. I mean, we did do that sometimes.
Wow, and Shelley Long is in this. We're full circle here. All right.
Yeah. So I go and I'm just helping them to like straighten all the box covers just so we could get out and get to the bar quickly, you know? And I'm like, let's just go. It's after midnight. And there's one car in the parking lot out front. One. And this guy spends the better part of an hour trying to like Grand Theft Auto this thing.
Yeah.
We call the police.
He was straight up just stealing a car in like a very wealthy suburban neighborhood. We were not in New York City in the 1980s.
Lit parking lot. There's a police station like 2 blocks away. Yeah. We call the cops. They come like 5 hours later. And when we called back to be like, look, we can't be here all night. And they're like, if you leave, that's a crime.
They did show
have your name for a police report.
They did show up because there was like a high-speed car chase where like they showed up and we're like, oh, we're good. And they showed up.
Left.
No, he ran. Unless this was a different time. There was a time where there was a guy who they pulled up and they sent these like 2 pretty young, very tiny female
officers.
Cops. And they like got out of the car and he panicked and ran back into the Blockbuster, which we're idiots that we did not lock the door, ran back in, through the Blockbuster and then out the Blockbuster with these 2 women cops chasing him. And then they got into their car. He got back into the stolen car, which like, why wouldn't you just, and then finally got it hot-wired and took off, and the car chased him, and it went like, we saw like the whole like high-speed car, like car went by and then it was away and then it came back.
Hours.
It was it was like an all-night hijinks car. So I believe like that the storyline could happen.
We gave a statement after 5 a.m. And we called them at midnight. Anyways, it was ridiculous. Yeah. So no, it's quite realistic. We didn't make it to Cheers that night.
We did not make it to Cheers that night. Oh my gosh. Well, another fun fact that I read is that, which it makes me sad, is that apparently Shelley is like an absolute nightmare to work with. Like she's like I don't know. I don't want to necessarily use the word diva, but she's got diva vibes.
There was a lot of rumors about that when she, like, during Cheers days.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So now at this time, I don't know how true it is, because she and Ted Danson were dating in real life, if I'm remembering the rumors from like back then.
From back then, yeah.
From like 40 years ago. so they were dating, and when they broke up, she suddenly became a diva on set. And I was like, was she the problem? Or did he just ruin her career?
Well, apparently because she's so tall, she just kept standing in like the wrong place in the shot. So they kept having to redo the shots over and over again.
Well, yeah, the Fonz is pretty small. Like,
yeah.
And Opie isn't like Opie. Which I love that. I'm like, Opie like produced and directed this, and the Fonz starred in it.
And he's like and he's like he's an extra in a couple different spots. Now he's on like the subway, and then I think he's like kissing someone, and like he's like in the background of a bunch of different shots, which makes it absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's anyways, it was a fun watch.
It was a fun watch. It was a fun watch. It wasn't my favorite, but again, that's kind of the fun part about this show and about rewatching and watching some of these movies, is that I feel like so much of like, and our rating system, as we say, is like completely biased, but so much of like what you love about a movie is captured in like the nostalgia of that movie. So like for Kathy, this is like her feelings, I imagine, around like the first time she saw this, and like, and you know, memorizing some of the quotes and like all of it, I think plays into her love of it in the same way that it probably does for like, you know, us and Empire Records, or like some of the ones that we just absolutely love. So Paul
that aren't necessarily good.
Exactly. It's the first major Hollywood studio picture directed by Ron Howard. Yeah. This one had like a lot of really interesting facts. I'm just gonna pull some of them up here while we're hanging out. But yeah, there's a lot of like family members in this movie. So we said Drew Barrymore's mother is in it. Richard Belzer, who plays one of the thugs, is Henry Winkler's cousin. There's just like a lot of weird, like not weird, but like a lot of background people who like now are a big deal. I do also love that Belinda's last name is Keaton, playing on the other side or opposite to Michael Keaton. I thought was pretty awesome. Oh yeah, here it is. The annoying saxophone player on the subway is Ron Howard. Yeah. Oh. And I don't remember. So Shannon Doherty, as you said, is in it. She plays a Bluebell, likened to a Girl Scout. Oh, in the elevator scene.
She's one of the girls, the one that beats him up. Is it the one that beats him up? She is the one that beats him up.
It's the group of girls that beat him up. That scene is pretty awesome. Like I do. It's just like the like grittiness of where he lives. And again, this is like what you don't love about these movies, but it's like he's like down on his luck, and it just keeps getting worse. Like he's just like so defeated, and that is like definitely the moment that you hated movies. But fair enough, it made me laugh.
No, well, I didn't mind it as much of this because he's not actually a very likable person. Like he comes across, so at the beginning of the movie you're like, oh, he's the classic good guy, and we know that's not my favorite trope. And then I'm like, he's actually not a good person. Like he thinks he is. I feel like my impression was that he feels like he's a good person. He's not a good person. And he has the potential at the end of the movie, like credits rolled, and it's like, well, maybe he's on a better track now. You know, like he kind of figured himself out a bit, which was the whole like issue, like the whole premise of the movie was him trying to figure himself out because, you know, like Wall Street wasn't working for him because it was too stressful, and other people were taking credit for his work, and he can't even get his sandwich order right, you know, like which I'm like I'm not a confrontational person, but like just push your foot down. Just be like, I don't like tuna, it's supposed to be egg, like chopped egg or egg salad. I had to think about that.
You're like egg.
Chopped egg.
He's not even, it's funny because it's like part of it is that he's trying to find himself, and part of it is that he's trying to just stand up for himself, but he's also, as you said, it's not that he's even like a bad person. He's like the person that is completely coasting. Like he is not working hard or trying in any way. Like he's literally he just wants to phone it in. Like he just wants to show up at his desk.
He implied he was trying hard by doing everything that was asked of him.
Yeah.
You know, like he's like, well, you know, I've been here for 6 years. We've been super loyal. I do everything you say. Like, I should be rewarded.
I guess.
Which, like, granted, yes, he should. Like, he's just doing his job, and he's doing it without complaint. Like, and he doesn't get rewarded for it at all.
True.
He gets demoted.
I guess I shouldn't be sorry. He just like comes across that he's doing.
But he is. I mean, like he can be on Wall Street, and the only reason, from what he said, that he quit Wall Street was because he didn't stand up for himself.
Yeah. I know, which is like, it's kind of interesting anyway. Like, he is a character because you're like it's almost like ahead of his time that he would be like self-aware enough to say, oh, like Wall Street wasn't a good fit for me, even though I'm making way more money there, to take this like clearly like being paid way less money and way less prestigious role and then get demoted and like still kind of truck along. Like, he could, I don't know, in some ways that's kind of admirable, but then he does also come across as this kind of guy who's just kind of phoning it in to some level. Like, he's not he's clearly not like passionate about anything. I guess he finds that at the end where he's passionate about Belinda, but even that's not like overly great. You shouldn't like be entirely passionate about a person, I suppose.
I love at the beginning when Shelley Long thanks him for helping her when she was beat up by a John, and so she goes to his place to cook breakfast for him, and I'm like, this man has the audacity to think he has a chance with her, which of course I knew that's where the plot was going anyways, but I'm like, the fact that he was like talking on the phone with his fiance is like, I stepped on a tack, I gotta go because I have a chance with this gorgeous woman. And I'm like, did he think he had a chance because she was a prostitute, or did he think he had a chance just because he had a chance with the good looking, like punching way above his weight?
I think he was just so like bumbling through that. Like, I think it was just like, I can't talk to you right now, I don't know, like I think he's just so shocked about the fact that there's like a scantily clad gorgeous woman standing in his kitchen that he doesn't even know what to say. Like, he's just sort of, I don't know if he comes across, to me anyway, as like thinking he's got a chance with her so much as like he's just doesn't know what to do. Like, it's just like, it's a lot. It feels like a lot to him. I am looking to, and Kathy's pointed out a couple times, which I think is a good point. This soundtrack in this movie is actually phenomenal.
Amazing, right?
Like, so
I love the soundtrack.
Soundtrack like 11 out of 10. And the soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal, like throughout this movie. And the whole like,
it really is.
I don't know. I think it's not the cinematography. It's like the setting, I guess. Like the vibe of the entire thing is actually pretty well done. Like I believed that is like a realistic portrayal of New York City in the 1980s. I mean,
it looks like
the office space was like relatable. Like that whole like, it felt like, even I, who was born at like a year after this movie came out, it still felt like I was like, oh yeah, okay, like this, I get where this is. Like, it felt very believable on that front.
I mean, that's how New York was like always portrayed in film and like TV at the time. It always, like, you always had the guys playing basketball on the street corner. You always had like the pimps chasing somebody. You always had like it you know, it wasn't super clean, and it wasn't, you know, I don't know how representative it was because, again, baby, but
it's true. Josh says that he feels like 99% of the movies we love because of the soundtrack. A lot of them, yes. The nostalgia of like kind of hearing some of those like absolutely iconic, like epic soundtracks. Like Moulin Rouge is like that. Like, the story is great, the soundtrack is phenomenal. Like the second the music starts, you're like, I love this movie. Doesn't even matter what they're saying on screen. You're just like, yep, I'm in. I love this movie. So yeah, I think it I don't know. I feel like we've lost like that a little bit. We've also lost like some of the realism too. Like, I feel like most of the shows and movies I've seen recently, you're like, okay, so everyone's just a billionaire. Like, the places that they live, you're like, huh, all right. Whereas like, this apartment felt realistic to me. I'm like, yeah, I believe that a guy that works in the morgue lives here.
It seemed to me, I was like, it's a bit big for New York, you know, like, but it was more realistic looking than like, say, what's their names? They're Sex and the City.
Yeah.
I'm like, none of them have realistic anything. Mind you, it's an escapist kind of show. It's nothing about.
They also had like
that show is realistic.
Yeah, true. They also had like better jobs, and that, like, again, that's a different tone.
Sarah Jessica Parker did not have a better job.
So I should take it back.
She did occasional contract puff pieces.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not. She can't just blow $800 on a pair of shoes because she's feeling down. Like, I'm like, no, you have to. And her apartment, though it was portrayed as small, I'm like, location. She couldn't afford that. Not in real life.
Here, Kathy says that she moved to New York City in 1989, and it was very much like that. Yeah, now it's like a giant Jersey mall. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely
Yeah,
has come a long
it
way
is like a giant Jersey mall.
over the years. Yeah, I feel like, and granted, I have never been a sex worker, so I can't really say with how much money they make, but I feel like wouldn't she have been able to be in like a nicer place? I don't know. Wouldn't she have been, especially as like they start giving more money to the women? I was like, how come she doesn't like get a nice,
Yeah,
she buys a condo at the end, so I suppose there's that, but
good investment. um, I feel like she's not like a high end escort. She's like
that's true. That's true.
she stands on a corner, right? Like her pimp like beat her up. John's beat her up. Like she seems to have no protection. She seems to like it just like the girls were all misused, and that's why they were so eager to work with Chuck, because he's obviously like way nicer and way better, and didn't even understand how he could like control them by holding back their salaries and like like I feel
Yeah.
like no, she probably didn't make a lot of money. I don't feel like it's a job that makes you a lot of money in that frame, like the standing on a street corner.
I guess.
Otherwise people would get out. Right? Like
I guess I'm biased. I'm like, oh, but like Pretty Woman, but she wasn't really making a lot of money. She was just taken in by an awesome, wealthy man. Yeah.
this billionaire picked her up,
Yeah. True story.
and decided to marry her.
True
That's
story.
a wild story.
That is a wild story. We'll have to revisit that one at some point. And Dan is saying, speaking of malls, Mallrats for the win. Mallrats is another absolutely incredible. I'm a big fan of that one. That one I feel like I've seen a number of times. Yeah, probably not recently though. That might be a fun rewatch at some point.
I honestly can't. All I remember from that at this point is the kid's gonna get stuck on the escalator, and he gets stuck.
He's on that goddamn escalator again. Yeah, no, it's and the magic eye posters. Were you able to ever see what was in them? I could never see what was in the magic eye posters. I'm like the 80s and 90s reject that was always like, I'm sure there's a sailboat in there somewhere.
Recently somebody had brought out like those papers and was like, can you see this? I'm like, I literally can't. I never could. I won't be able to. And she's trying to tell me how to do all these tricks and how to see it and like what to do. And she's like, she's a retired teacher. She taught elementary school. She's like, I could always get all of my kids to see it. I'm like, not this kid. like Nanny Andrea. There's no way I could never see those things.
Oh,
now they just make me like get a migraine, but
I know that was always my problem. I was like focused way too hard on them. They're like, relax your eyes. I'm like, I need to see the sailboat. I can't find it. Oh my gosh. Well, what else can we say about this one? I feel like we've covered most of it.
It was fun. I think the cast had really good chemistry. Like they all played off each other really well. Like Bill and Chuck and Belinda.
Great
I thought
chemistry.
Charlotte was hilarious. Like in all her neuroses and stuff. And I know she's supposed to be like, the terrible girlfriend or whatever, but I'm like, she's really hilarious. And I thought her character is probably more realistic out of everybody.
I also just really liked the like group of women and how like they were.
Oh yeah,
it made it feel very like fun, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They did a really nice job with making it feel believable and also like this like close-knit community. I really liked I liked all of them, and they all had like the very like distinctive personalities. It was really cute when they were like giving gifts and I don't know. I liked all the women.
Yeah, I loved the Christmas scene where they are like, one like gives them a poem and they all kind of got together and got them gifts.
The poem
like
was
two guys
great.
gifts.
Yeah,
the poem was epic.
The poem was epic.
That was probably my favorite part of the whole movie. I was like, she's so cute. Look at her go. She's all proud of herself and they're all like, yay. She's like, I did it.
Yeah, they were absolutely really amazing. Cute. All of the like clothing shopping too. Like they were really cute. Like they as one character just like they carried a lot of it for me. I thought they were pretty fantastic. Yeah, Josh is saying that Charlotte sounds like a few
Fame.
girlfriends he's had in the past. Yes, she was definitely a particular character. Yeah, Fame would be cool. All right, we gotta.
I do love Fame. I also love, almost more than the movie, I loved the spin-off TV show. I was
Oh yeah, yeah.
obsessed with
Not
that.
not even more than me. I caught a
Well,
bit of it
I used to do
because
ballet, so
Natalie
it
used to
was
do
like
ballet. Yeah,
right up my alley.
yeah.
I'm like that
I would
whole
watch
like
Fame.
Debbie
That would be
Allen
fun.
thing where she knocks the stick on the floor. That speech I have memorized. It's ingrained in my brain forever and ever. I'm like, and every time the teacher would be like, "This is how I want it done," I'm like, oh, she's one of the best dancers of all time. Like, oh God, I love that movie. Anyways, very very good. That's a good suggestion.
All right, well, we gotta start over because Val just got here, so so let's take it from
Hey,
the top. Hey,
Val.
Val. We are, if you are just joining like Val, we are just finishing up our review of Night Shift. This one was recommended by Kathy, early
Yes, we love
80s
that.
movie. Just a fun watch all around. So let us know if you're. Go ahead, Nat.
Important question. Sorry, Val, have you seen this one?
Have you seen Night Shift? We have not, so we're not judging.
I feel
you if
like
you
this
have
is like a
not.
weekly question now. Has Val seen the movie?
Should be like one of our segments.
All
like
of our
just checking
listeners
in.
need to know.
just checking in on Val. Well, if you were watching with us live, let us know what your rating was for this. Now that we've like talked about it and laughed about it, I feel like I gave this too low a rating. I may have to rethink my rating. Now it was very much like I did not enjoy this one. I was like, I don't know.
I again, like it was kind of like the other Michael Keaton one that I didn't really like. Like there's
Multiplicity?
aspects of it I really enjoyed,
Yeah.
and there's stuff about it like that I didn't like. I like in this one I loved the lines, like they had great one-liners. Am I gonna rewatch it? Probably with my brother, to be fair. I feel like he would think this is hilarious.
Two potatoes and a container of McDonald's French fries.
And fries? Side fries?
Well,
yeah, I agree with Paul.
I would agree with Paul on that one. We'll have to update to add some fries in.
Let's see. Val hasn't seen it, listeners. Val has not seen it.
It looks like this one actually was a really good one because it looks like not a lot of people actually had seen this one. So this is like a fun one to add in the mix. I feel like when we first originally thinking through this show, most of it was like fun for us to rewatch movies we wanted to, but none of the ones that we're like really into are popular movies. Like some of them were like, and they're all like cult classics, I guess now. But
I mean, surprised we're still pretty shocked, flummoxed, if you will, that so many people love pump up the volume.
Yeah. It makes us happy. It really makes us happy.
And I'm like, I didn't like I knew then how big Christian Slater was. He was like the teen heartthrob. But I had no concept of how popular that movie was at the time, and I do love to see like that it is actually that popular. Yeah. It's like whenever I mention it, like nowadays, people are like, "What movie?" I'm like, Christian Slater, and they're like, "No." I'm like, oh.
Oh, well, people have been loving that episode and been asking us to redo that one and like dive even deeper. So there's that. So yeah, we're getting some suggestions in. Paul says we should do Rocky Horror. That's an awesome one. Josh says he can't give it a rating because he hasn't seen this movie, but it sounds bonkers. Luis hasn't seen this one either. See, Dan hasn't seen it either, but the lowest he can give a Winkler movie is 2. So fair enough. Yeah. Well, we were at, let's see here. So we were at 2. We had 2, but I want to add the fries. I feel like it's 2 and a side of fries. Yeah. Or tater tots. Maybe it's a side of tater tots. Kathy is at 4 because it's her recommendation. So that makes a ton of sense. Now that we've done the review, I don't know. I was somewhere between a 2 and a 3. You might get me up to 3 now. It was a fun movie. I might, like you said, like you were going to watch it with Andrew. I might watch it with Dane. Since I saw it in the plane, I might have to watch it with Dane and see what he thinks. Although I
don't know if Dane's going to like it. Just putting it out there.
Like, his thing. Oh my gosh.
I feel like he's going to have to say, he's just doing his job.
I know. He's just trying to work, and all of these sex workers are everywhere in the way. Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I feel like though Belinda's character was so insanely likable that she's just like a ray of sunshine.
Think, to me, that was the selling point. Yeah. Like I feel like that sold it the most was her character.
Yeah. She just played it really well. Like she was throughout the entire movie. You were like, I would be friends with her. Like she was just very likable. Like everyone else I think did it actually. Like I think this movie was really well acted all the way through, but I think she was definitely in a league of her own. I'm laughing. Val says that fries sound good right about now. Me too, Val. Fries sound great right
same.
now.
Like I think I need more salt in my diet. Like I definitely feel like fries now.
Josh says he would have loved to. Yeah, it would have loved to have grown up watching movies with us. Yeah, we watched a lot of movies. We spent like I think now that I have little kids and I'm always like, oh, it's been too much screen time. Stop watching. And I was like, oh man, my parents were. Yeah. We definitely lived in. I lived in the generation of like go outside, but there were definitely like if it was raining, it was like go to the basement and close the door and watch as many movies as you want. Just don't bother us as long as you're in the basement. That's fine.
I do miss walking around Blockbuster for like at least an hour.
Yeah.
Just like discussing what we want to watch.
Yeah.
Or if we were going to get more than one.
I do miss that. I miss that because now like I do that on like Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever else, and Dane does not enjoy that. He's like, just choose one. And I'm like, I've got to read, like, it's like reading the back of the box. I have to be in like the right mood. I need to like watch the preview. There's a browsing period. I guess I need to do that by myself. I need to do self browsing and create like a list and then let him know when I'm ready. There needs to be a browsing moment.
I was going to say my brother had pointed out, like one of the things and why he thinks we kind of still quote older movies and remember the lines so well. Mm-hmm. Part of it is because it's like when you rented it, you had it for like what, 2 days or 2 nights?
Yep.
2 nights in like an afternoon or like a morning. Yep. So we would rewatch it as many times as we could squeeze in before we had to bring it back. Especially if we really liked the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, even if we didn't like it, sometimes we'd watch it more than once. But if we liked it, we'd watch it like 5 times in 2 days.
$5 to rent a movie. It was like, no, we weren't joking around.
Right? It was expensive. Yeah. We were getting like the most for our money. And so it's like we constantly did quote things and remember the lines so easily because we watched it like frequently. Like we frequently rewatched movies, which... I miss that. Like I miss
this is still a thing in my life because now I make these like buying decisions where and I see Dan on here so I can make fun of him for this, but my DVD collection, which is vast, is still in boxes because we're actively redoing, and now we had a flood, so now we're like super redoing our bonus room. But now I have to inevitably, I'm watching movies for the show on Amazon or Disney or Netflix or wherever else I can find them. And when I find them on Amazon, there's like a moment for most of these, you have to either like rent them or buy them. So then it's like a game. I'm like, okay, I'm back in Blockbuster days where I'm like, $3 to rent it. How many times will I watch it? $10 to buy it. I'll probably watch it enough times to buy. Do I already own it on DVD? How bad is it to also own it digitally? Like I'm just going through like all of these checklists in the game, but it's been a sort of
I still have in my Amazon cart a whole bunch of DVDs I want to buy, and I just chip them off every once in a while. I'll get a few more. So the reason, it's not that I'm sitting in my basement watching DVDs all the time. On rainy days at our small little cabin in the woods in the summer, if we because the weather patterns aren't super like predictable there, so if we get trapped with like a rainy weekend, like there's no TV up there, there's no cell reception, so it's like we have to have a DVD player. So I'm like, if I ever don't have a working DVD player, it'll be devastating because it's like all we can do at the cabin.
There's something really nice about it. So we have a DVD, I think it's like a DVD / Blu-ray player, but I was helping my parents clean up a little bit in the basement, and they still had like one of the totally working, like had it for forever VCRs. So I was like, I'm gonna take this. So I took it back because the one I had for years stopped working probably 5 or 6 years ago. And what I really want to do, and maybe this will be a bonus episode, but I have this game called it's called Party Mania. It's called Party Mania. Do you remember Party Mania, Nat?
Of course I do.
Yeah. So you pop in the VHS and in the background while you're playing the board game, it's like it's playing a movie, and like mom will come in and be like, you can't go to the party because you haven't picked up your laundry, and so you have to like move back 4 steps. And I was like, oh man, I desperately want to play this with my 9-year-old daughter. So I'm like, I need to get this VCR working. I have the game, it's ready to go, but what I need now is the appropriate cables. I'm gonna have to, because this one I think only takes coax cable, which my TV is like, what is that? I'm new. I don't understand. So, oh my gosh, Josh just bought Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That one, that's a fun rewatch. I feel like it was on Disney. It was on one of the streaming services, and I watched like the first couple of episodes. I'm like, oh yeah, this is happening. We're just gonna keep working our way through that. That would be amazing.
Salem was the best.
Salem was the best. Something about a snarky talking cat. Oh my gosh.
Katie and I do like sassy black cats. Cats. We had a sassy black cat when we lived together. So
we absolutely did. Oh my gosh. Well, team, what are we watching next week? Should we review our epic movie list? Do we have some ideas? Well, Fame. Fame is on the list. How do we feel about Fame?
Fame. Or Goonies.
We had been talking about Goonies. Should we do Goonies and then Fame? We could do 2 back to back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down for Fame all the time. I love it. My God, the guy from ER was in it, Dr. Romano.
Oh yeah.
He had hair. He was bald on ER. And I remember when I made that connection where I was like, he was the kid with the giant red-haired afro in Fame. So good. I don't know.
Josh has Goonies and then Fame. And
okay,
yay,
done.
Great news about your dad, Josh. We're so excited that he's back from the hospital. That's huge. Fame is a time commitment over 2 hours. I know. I've been rewatching the Marvel movies with my kids, and I forgot like almost everyone is like 3 hours, 2.5. I'm like, oh wow, we're really in. So Fame's no big deal. We've been living in that world.
Like I'll watch Braveheart, guys. Like strap in.
I should. It's too far away. I'll have to get it for the next episode. In my basement cleanup with my parents, I found my fully laminated on wood Titanic poster. So I'm like, ooh, we gotta hang this up. It's huge. It's like, I don't even.
Yeah, I remember. It was actual movie poster size.
It was like an actual movie poster size, and it's like shellacked onto wood, and I'm like, this is.
We did that. Somewhere. We went to Walmart with a bunch of movie posters that we bought, and we got them all like mounted onto wood.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing.
It's going up somewhere. I don't know.
Whichever ones I had got ruined, I think, in a flood. But you know,
shellac them right onto wood. I guess flood wouldn't. It would still.
Well, we did. It destroyed the wood. Yeah. I can't remember what else we had. We had a few others. Well, oh man,
I don't know where I'm gonna put it. This room is getting a little crowded for movie posters, but all right, I'm in. I don't see anyone else overruling Josh and Kathy and us, so I think we're in. Next week we'll do Goonies, and then we'll move on into Fame, and then I don't know, maybe Titanic. Maybe we go or Braveheart, or both Titanic and then Braveheart, or vice versa.
Yeah, we could do epically long 90s dramas. We could do a couple of those.
90s dramas.
Is that our next category after Goonies and Fame?
We've moved from Michael Keaton into, I don't know, 80s, continuing on the 80s run, and then we'll...
Tragically long 90s movies.
Tragically long 90s movies, all right.
Tragically, or tragic, long... 90s movies. Not that they're tragic because they're so long, just that Titanic and Braveheart are really freaking tragic.
Could be a play on words. could be a play
I just wanted to clarify. I'm like, Titanic made me cry. Braveheart, the opening scene in Braveheart made me bawl my eyes out to the point where I had to like walk out of the theater for and miss half the movie and then go back and see it another day.
You might see us like come onto camera just like full ugly crying, but hey, we're in to do it in front of all of you. Kathy,
I cry like Claire Danes.
Man. Have I seen Renaissance Man? Probably. I don't remember. I may not have seen that one. Dane says, there goes my evenings. You don't watch TV with me anyway. You're off doing your man cave.
You guys are watching House.
We're watching House. It's a fun rewatch. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Hugh Laurie, but it also just really made me be like, why doesn't he have his normal accent? And I need to watch
yeah.
What was it? Wooster and Jeeves.
Yeah, that one is good.
bit of Fry and Laurie. I love those.
A bit of Fry and Laurie. Well, we did it. We shouldn't keep you all too long talking about things that have nothing to do with this movie, but we do appreciate you hanging out with us. If you are here, we should remind you that we have a website, so you can swing on over to thevhsclubpod.com. You can grab all the episodes. You can leave us a review. You can leave us a voicemail, which is super fun. I'm like very eager for people to just send us voicemails because we could play them on the show. That would be really cool. You can drop us emails there. You can get email reminders. I promise I'm going to start building out email reminders. Some of you have signed up and I really appreciate that. And then I have not emailed you because I'm not good at this thing, but we're getting there. We're going to do email reminders. But yeah, let us know.
Kathy, we have to remember and acknowledge that Kathy is opening the Mark Wahlberg box.
That's a good box.
With
Kathy.
a lot with Club. I'm like, I used to love, my friend Christopher Levy and I used to have like girls' nights. Total straight guy, but like we used to have like girls' night. He's like, "Can I just have like a night in so I can like, vent about my week?" And I was like, "A girls' night?" And he's like, "Whatever it's called." He's like, "Also, I'm obsessed with Mark Wahlberg." I'm like, "We're all in. Let's do it." So we used to have like Mark Wahlberg movie nights where we could just vent about how bad our weeks were. So yes.
Oh, I love this comment. Well, shout out to My Car Life. Great name. My Car Life says I had an 8mm projector, Betamax, VHD, laser disc. You were way cooler than me. I only had a VCR.
I had a Betamax.
Nat had a Betamax.
We used to have a projector as well. I still have it. I have no idea how it works or how to get it to work. My parents used to, it was a thing I think in the 70s where my parents used to like get all their photos from like trips put onto slides.
Oh yeah, slides were so fun, and then we would sit there and watch slide shows. Like it was a whole thing. I guess now it's the same way you like slide through your phone. It's less exciting. Slides were very fun.
Now we scroll.
Scrolling is not as cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to all of you for listening and watching, and thanks to the whole crew hanging out with us here in the live chat. Huge thanks to Val for being woken up by Paul and joining us. We love
thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. We love getting to hang out with everyone in the live chat. If you want to be here live with us, we record live on YouTube most Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. But you can always catch episodes whenever you want to watch them right here on YouTube, and then over on our website you can find your favorite place. Most people, it's I don't know. There's becoming less and less actual good podcast players, so you can find them and listen to them right on the website if that makes it easier, but here on YouTube as well.
That's generally how I'm listening to podcasts now. I just go directly to people's websites.
Yeah, directly to people's websites or here on YouTube, where it's always a safe space here on YouTube. At least here in this channel, maybe not on other parts of YouTube.
On our YouTube channel.
Safe space. Well, from us here, thanks so much for hanging out, and we will see you next week for the Goonies and the week after for Fame. Thank you for your amazing, amazing feedback. We'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.